Okay, thank you. A question from the back of the room, sir. We'll bring you the microphone.
Yes, good point.
Is that well-known television personality Kura Chihota I see at the back?
And father of 2 gorgeous sons, and taxpayer and all that good stuff. Thanks, Michael.
And speaker. And stealing the market now from Bronwyn. It's your turn.
Not at all. Not
Go
at
for it.
all. Just as I'm putting my toes into the industry, and I'm hearing the word collaboration, and you can get things one of 2 ways. There's the argument about how do you catch a bear? Do you shoot it and chase after it, or do you entice it with honey? So I hear a team, a group of people, various skill sets that procure or that are very specialized, sound, planning, organizing, putting together the speakers. I think if there was a platform, something like Alibaba.com, where you as an industry agglomerate in a particular place, and then you can tweet, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z, but then the moderation of that is done by having some sort of peer review mechanism where you've got stars for performance, so that you'll see over time, sure, there'll be some abuse of the system in the initial days, but people promote and market and all the rest of it. But as time goes by, people get more and more feedback and general interaction with one another on a real basis, on a basis that how do you take your product forward? How do you network with somebody who can deliver value to you in your value chain? And then that way the communication becomes real because it's a bread and butter issue.
Thank you. Any reply from the panel on that?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting topic, and it's a thing that we've also been trying to address. Event Green Forum, do we give accreditation? Do we do verification? What do we do? And we just said in the end of it, we're not going to get involved with that because our role is one of training and one of educating. But your comment in terms of that, there maybe is a place for that. But even if I look at what's happened in government and the whole BEE thing, look how much effort went into that just to make that happen. And now that's a massive national initiative to get a scorecard going and get rating and make sure everybody gets audited and verification, and there's still pitfalls in that. So I think great idea, but I think it's impractical.
I'm just wondering from the media who are here when they mention the figure of around 25 billion for the industry, whether in fact government are going to be knocking on all of your association doors pretty soon saying, let's get involved, let's regulate, let's do something. Because we are completely unregulated. I'll come to you for a question in a moment, ma'am. Sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
The Minister of Tourism has already said that as an industry we need to self-regulate, or he's going to do it for us.
Excellent. It is difficult, and I do understand that. From a speaker perspective, 55,000 former estate agents now want to be speakers this week. From a production point of view, anybody who bought a speaker from Stax on their last sale now thinks they're in the AV business. It is very, very difficult to regulate.
No, but I think you're absolutely correct on that, and I think that's where the danger of this exploding growth has come. Is that anybody is welcome. It's an open industry. You don't need a qualification. You don't need any knowledge. You don't need any backup. You can go and buy 6 speakers and 2 lights, and hey, I'm a staging company. I'm a young lady, and I've worked for a nice big boss, and I've organized the end of year party and the board meetings and the boss's lunch. And hey, I'm a good PCO. I can go and do this. Hello, excuse me. No. Do you know me? We don't need barriers to entry. But God knows we need training and we need qualification to entry. If you want to call yourself a PCO, you'd better have A, B, C, D in place.
Which is what
Otherwise,
Meister Academy are the only specialists in as far as I'm aware right now. No, thank you. I see you, ma'am. I'll bring you a microphone in a moment. We've got a question.
Answer that question. It's about an interesting thing. If I go to the Harbour and I was catching a train from Port Elizabeth, there was a really dodgy Harbour Cafe there, and I said to my wife, there's no ways I'm getting a toasted cheese from this place, because I could see it wasn't great. Now, we always talk about these one-man bands and people starting up and stuff like that, but the consumer knows. How often, I know there's 1 or 2 places that people get burnt, but people know. People know that if I go to this place, I must get a good feeling. I need to go and see their stock. I need to go and see their warehouse. If they've got a big event with you, they need to know. So I think we underestimate the consumer. I think we underestimate our corporates. People know. They investigate. So, this whole argument about, and I hear it all the time, forget it. Get on and do your job and show and look like a good fish and chip shop with nice toasted cheese and look clean and tidy.
How many people in the room, though, from an audience perspective, would insist on using an AV supplier sanctioned by TPSA, for argument's sake? Have you done it? Would you put up your hands if you have? And if you haven't, would you put up your hands?
Well, I think the biggest example of that was that all the tenders that went out during the World Cup actually had in them that the technical supplier was supposed to be a TPSA member. I think that 90% of the viewing sites were done by non-TPSA members. The government doesn't take us seriously, folks. That's the
Perhaps
reality.
nobody does. Let's get to your question now.